vice needs determination, needs focus to fight.
As management, there is a serious determination to see that we clean up the tax administration from that vice of corruption. And we know that any institution can only thrive where all the stakeholders
and efforts need to be in the faces of people so that staff truly move outside that paradigm. We move off it and we live the life with the virtue that people would emulate and talk about URA. If the campaign is taken right away by URA, we champion it and pitch it higher at a national level. I hope our efforts as URA will not stop only within URA. If URA can coordinate it higher, URA should start it and proceed to campaign with other sister government agencies that yes, the loud sound on corruption is truly brought to an end.
URA has defined integrate people, corruption out of the world. And it starts with me and it starts with you. So it is for everyone, it's everyone's initiative. We have put very many initiatives in place at Uganda Revenue Authority. Recently, we had board approved.
Corruption is detrimental to the objectives of URA. Corruption is detrimental to the objectives and national aspirations of Uganda. And they call upon every one of us in URA to put the fight against corruption as a top priority. And I know with God, we shall definitely win. Thank you.
The effort that have been done has been to talk to staff all the time in our meetings to remind them about our code of conduct, about integrity, because we are supposed to talk about it and we are supposed to walk the talk as leaders. That's the very reason why we go to church every Sunday. They remind us about something every year. That is human nature. So it's good that the publicity and the leaders, we as leaders in URA, to walk the talk so that others possibly can follow.
Me, I have a view of, say, if somebody has caught being in corruption, they should sell off the items equivalent to the money taken to pay back the money.
Fight against corruption starts with me, no one else.
Good morning and welcome to today's Tax Mchuzi. We're buying. Can we start? I just want to. Jeez. Pause, please. Good morning and welcome to today's Tax Mchuzi. We are back with yet another episode, and today's topic is understanding withholding tax with our usual suspect in the house, Patrick. Thank you for coming, and it's such a pleasure to always have you. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Elizabeth. Patrick Bogum is my name once again. And to our Muslim brothers and sisters, Muslim community, we wish you a good holy month of Ramadan. And also thank you for paying your taxes.
Yes, thank you for coming on today's show, and happy Ramadan. And to our Muslim brothers and sisters. So let's dive right into withholding tax. This is a common topic that we've always had, and it is something that a lot of people know, but maybe they do not have information about it. So today we are going to go into a deeper understanding of what withholding tax is about, how to compute it, when is it collected, and what is it about being a withholding agent. So Patrick, our taxpayers would like to know, what is withholding tax?
As you have said, withholding tax is a common word here. As we move in the corridors, we move in the markets, we move in the schools, we move in the hospitals, the word withholding tax is common. And in a brief, I say withholding tax is a form of income tax, where the withholding agent is obliged by law to withhold tax upon making a payment to another person, who in this case we are calling a payee.
Okay. And moving forward, who is a withholding agent? Or can anybody be a withholding agent?
As what my definition for withholding agent, to be a withholding agent, one, either you must be one of the listed or designated agents which has been made by Minister of Finance.
Yes.
So what do I mean here? That for you to become a withholding agent, you must be on the list of selected or designated agents issued by Minister of Finance in a gazette. That is one side. The other category of people who are supposed to become withholding agents are those ones who are making payments on some transactions whereby law withholding tax is supposed to be deducted at source.
Okay.
So basically those are the, so in the brief, it depends on the nature and the circumstances of the transaction.
Okay, so when should this withholding tax be collected? Someone could be wondering, okay, you've said being a withholding agent is circumstantial. It depends on what is going on or on the transaction. So at what point do we say that now I have this transaction and I'm a withholding agent? Yes.
Now, and we talked about no withholding agent. You know, you cannot withhold when the person not being paid.
Yes.
So what does it mean? As soon as the payment is made or it is to be made, the withholding agent is supposed or is required to withhold the tax upon making the payment or before making the payment. So meaning that the other person who is whom we are calling the payee, before he or she is paid, the withholding agent has to first withhold that tax and remit it to URA.
Yes, so I've noticed that you've mentioned payee twice. What is a payee in this transaction? Is it a supplier? Is it a business person? Is it a buyer? Someone would want to know if they qualify to be a payee, and if when upon receiving their money, will withholding tax be deducted?
Now, you know the law that's using terminologies.
Yeah.
The withholding agent, it can also be called as a payer. And the part is P-A-Y-E-R.
Okay.
And the payee or the person who is receiving the payment is the one we are calling the payee. P-A-Y-E-E.
Okay.
So, what was the question?
I'm asking at what point does someone become, who is a payee? Okay,
Who is a
just
payee?
in short, yeah.
Now, a payee in this case is a person who is supplying or has performed a service.
Okay.
In brief.
Okay, thank you.
Or a person from whom tax is supposed to be withheld before being paid.
Okay. So moving forward, who is exempted from this withholding tax, or as long as you supply a service or a good, withholding tax is supposed to be deducted? Are there people who are exempt from this tax?
Ideally, withholding tax, they don't exempt persons.
Okay.
You know, people normally talk about, and the same applies to VAT, that other people are exempted from VAT. So the same applies to withholding tax. What they exempt are items or supplies, but not people. So when you hear people talk about, I want to be exempted from withholding tax, it's what it means is like, in the case you're exempted from withholding tax, if that item attracts withholding tax, the other withholding agent, upon making a payment to you, will not withhold that particular percent. In this case, the common one is 6%. They'll pay you a full figure, including the 6% withholding tax. So in the brief, items are exempted, but not individual
people. So in this case, is it right if I say that it is a business that is exempted, not necessarily the person?
And the business, it has another meaning.
Okay, so
basically supplies, the items
supplies.
are dealing in. Some are exempt from withholding tax,
Okay.
others are not. The way you see for VAT, some items are exempt from VAT, others are standard rated.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So would like to know, when is this withholding tax paid by the withholding agent to URA?
Now the law a bit, you see, the different rates, of course, that applies.
Okay.
Depending on the time we shall get. The common one is 6%, where the withholding agent is supposed to withhold 6% on payment for either goods or services.
Okay.
Equal to or above, that is 1 million Uganda shillings. So he or she to remit this money to URA
The country.
within 5 days.
Okay. So which other people besides entertainers are eligible for withholding tax to be deducted from their money? Because you entertainers, business. Okay.
Withhold
Okay.
and remit to URA.
Yes.
The other one is where you find there's a charge on management or professional fees.
Oh, okay.
The other one is where you find you find you have got some savings in the bank. There's also withholding tax on the interest or dividends.
Okay.
Also, recently I've been hearing about mobile telecommunication companies.
Okay.
Now, there are these people who sell airtime. I think even the data.
Yes.
So when the MTN is paying them, that requires the MTN to withhold the 10% upon making a payment to these people who are selling on their behalf. Insurance premium, insurance agencies, the same.
Okay.
So the list is a bit big. These people, like in the gaming or betting industry,
Okay.
they requires this gaming company to withhold
On the
15% on the gross payment.
Okay.
So those are some of the examples.
Yeah, so that's quite a large group of people. So some groups are
It's a
not
big,
paying that.
it's a wide, it may be a topic another day, but there are many categories of people involved. Talk about international transport, shipyards.
Okay.
They say 2% for these people who provide transport.
So in this case, is withholding tax for that group of people you've mentioned a final tax, or there are other taxes they pay even after the withholding tax has been deducted?
That's a good one. This withholding tax,
Yes.
which is deducted at source, is a two-way. There is one which is final,
Okay.
and the other one is creditable. So mean that at the end of the year, when you are filing a final tax return, the other tax which was withheld at source, withholding tax,
Withholding tax.
then two, there will be no further tax on that income where it was final, and besides, the person not to be required also to
Fine.
aggregate it among his chargeable income at the end of the year
Okay.
in a brief. So creditable and final.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So when does a taxpayer know that withholding tax has been removed or deducted and has also been paid or remitted to URA? Because they feel like they're paying so many taxes, their money is being deducted, but they are not sure whether it has actually been remitted to URA. At what point do they get to know? Is there a notification? At what point do they get to know?
Now it takes me to the recent public notice which was issued. Because most of us have been complaining that now, how can I be sure? For example, I talked about pay as you earn being one form of withholding tax.
Yes.
A notice was issued requiring that all employers should include the TIN or TIN numbers. People call them TIN numbers. I don't know what TIN is. Tax identification number of the respective employees, if it is a pay as you earn return, or suppliers.
Yes.
On discuss performance of a service in withholding tax return. And now, once the TIN of that particular person is included in the return, what does it mean? That at the end of the month, once this return is submitted to URA, that credit is supposed to reflect on that person's account. So now, how do you come to know? One, either you as the payee or the person from whom the tax was withheld, you are entitled, it is your right to ask the other withholding agent to give you what they call a credit certificate.
Okay. So upon receiving this credit certificate, do you get it every time an agent withholds, or do you just get it, or is it a one-off?
Wow. Now, remember most of the withholding tax is a monthly tax rate. So what does it mean? That every time the payment is made and the tax is withheld, you are supposed to be given a credit certificate. So it is as and when the payment is made and the tax is withheld.
Okay. If I may ask, someone would want to know out there, what is the importance of withholding tax? Because someone feels like they are doing their business, they are working so hard, and somehow there is money that is deducted. What is the importance of having withholding tax in place?
It's a two-way. And why I say it's a two-way, some people say, you see, that money is part of my cash flow.
Yes.
So it is held up by someone. It is kept. But at the same time, because of cash flow challenges, how it is advantageous to you, it is taken as a tax paid in advance.
Okay.
So what does it matter? At the end of the year, when you are coming up with the final tax to pay, if tax had been deducted at source, I can say the liability is lessened. You may find at the end of the year, you don't have enough cash.
Okay.
But you remember, hey, well, I've got some credits. So it helps you to reduce on the what? On the liability at the end of the year.
Oh, okay. That's quite interesting. So someone is asking, how can one become a withholding agent? Is it a voluntary system, or there's a process they have to go through to be picked?
Now, as I said, when you are beginning, me and you,
Yes.
we don't have the powers to determine who becomes a withholding agent.
Okay.
It's the minister, one, of finance, who decides who. And at least what I know from experience, one of them depends on the people you rate with.
Okay.
So meaning that either one, your volume of sales or transactions are high, and the people you're dealing with are many. So the government now say, this person can be trusted.
Okay.
It's going to be collecting a tax on our behalf, because remember, withholding a tax, it's not your money. You're a trusted agent collecting money on behalf of the government of Uganda.
Okay.
On the other one, of course, automatically, if you're an employee, no need to apply. If you have got employees and they're earning above the recommended threshold, then by law you are obliged to withhold.
Okay.
So don't need to apply. It is automatic.
Okay. So this brings me to small and medium businesses. Can they also be withholding agents, or they don't meet the threshold?
Apparently, most of them are.
Okay.
Most of them are. From large, medium, and small. Because most of them are having employees.
Okay. Makes sense. So, before we get into the computation, can withholding tax be paid at the end of the year? I know that you earlier mentioned that it can help you remove or reduce your liability at the end of the year, but can it also be deducted at the end of the year?
Now, as I said, I'll keep some of these things in the law, and you can't change the law.
You can't change
unless when the law is amended. So for pay as you earn, it is monthly.
Yes.
So the employer is mandated or required to submit by 15th of the following month. Likewise, if it is for payment for supplies of goods or services.
Okay.
Now, if the person is supposed to withhold, if the payment is made like this is March, by 15th of April, the tax must be remitted to URA.
Okay.
So what does it mean if you the withholding agent, you don't remit this money?
And you want to remit it at the end of the year, like at once?
Now remember, the law said submit by 15th of the following month.
Okay.
So now what does it mean? If you don't do it by the due date or by 15th, the onus is on you. You are going to incur to penalties and necessary costs in the form of interest on late submission, which may normally quote as a cost to the business, which is not necessary.
Okay, so just go into some questions. We have viewers online, and Richard has said, which items are exempt from withholding tax?
Wow. The common one we talk about agricultural supplies. And if Richard can allow me to navigate brief in the law, you know, it's a bit, people normally say, what are agricultural supplies? And for us, when you tell me the definition of agricultural supplies, ask, is maize flour an agricultural supply? We said no. So if I try to check here, and the laws are saying agricultural supplies mean the supply of produce of agriculture. And then they're giving us examples: coffee, cotton, sugarcane, tea, tobacco, cocoa, etc. Livestock and livestock products, poultry and poultry products, fruits and vegetables, horticultural products, fish and agricultural products, floricultural products. these are the items which are exempt from withholding
Withholding
tax.
tax.
So what does it mean? If I try to read within this definition, if you don't add any value, when I talked about maize, even maize, it's okay.
Yes.
But if you go take maize to a maize mill and become maize flour becomes what?
A product.
It becomes
Processed
what?
product.
It becomes a processed product. Now that's why I say now we're taking to another item. I said not agricultural supplies shall not include processed agricultural products. Now you see, already you actually had the answer.
Okay. So processed in this case are, let's say, yogurt,
Now if
since
you
it's got from
yeah,
milk. And then we are looking at maize flour,
maize flour,
packaged beans.
you see
Like
now
if they are
package you're
packaged.
adding.
Okay. Okay, makes sense. So someone out there would like to know about the thresholds and the rates of withholding tax and at what categories they go in. Is there a specific threshold, or is there a rate, or is it just one rate, 6%? I've heard you mention 6% and 15.
The common one is 6%.
Yes, the common one is 6%. So what are there other rates, and if we can have a brief breakdown of them?
A brief breakdown, I'm not to go first of all talk about pay as you earn. Pay as you earn has got different thresholds.
Yes.
So in a brief, if you are an employee and you are earning above 235,000 Ugandan shillings,
Yes.
the employer is required to withhold tax upon making a payment, not employment income.
Okay.
Let me not go much in it. If I try to check through here, I talked about professional fees.
Yes, you did.
And let's say that a resident person, and that was what the other person is a resident person.
Okay.
A resident person who pays management or professional fees to a resident person. A resident person make a payment to another resident person.
Okay.
Is required to withhold the tax at a rate of 6%
Okay.
on the gross amount of the payment. That's
So
one of
an
them.
example of, like, let's have an example of, let's put it into our local context. A resident person, let's say this is,
Maybe in a brief.
you are hiring a consultant in
Yes.
Uganda. Yes.
Maybe an auditor.
An auditor. Yes. So let's explain it along those lines, like put it into perspective.
Now, I'm here, Patrick, I'm an accountant.
Yes.
You have a company, Akai.
Okay.
You say, come and review my accounts, my books before I submit to URA. If you give me any payment, which are called at the end of the audit fees.
Okay.
Because I'm a professional, called professional fees.
Okay.
So the law requires you to withhold 6%.
Percent.
And don't tell me that you are not among the list of designated agents. You know, that's now, these are the things I talked about. If you are making a payment on a transaction, what the law requires you to withhold.
Okay.
This is one of the examples.
Okay.
And in the brief resident person, someone has got a permanent home in Uganda,
Yes.
or is based in Uganda for a period which are in average or exceeding 183 days during a particular income.
Okay.
Those are part of the example.
Okay.
The other example, you say now, withholding tax on winnings of sports of sports or
Yes.
pool betting.
Pool betting.
If
Okay.
you any gaming companies are making a payment to these gamblers, they requires you to withhold 15% on the gross
53?
payment. 15%
15.
on the gross payment.
Okay.
The common one also is on imports.
Yes.
They say every person who imports goods into Uganda is liable to pay withholding tax at the time of importation on the customs value of the goods at 6%,
Okay.
except supplies and imports by organizations or persons exempt from income tax.
Okay.
Now the other one, where would you just want maybe, because I said there are very many, there's this one because I know that maybe people are there and they have their mobile money agents there left and right. They say, withholding tax on payments of commission to mobile money dealers.
Okay.
Now, what does it mean? That if M10 is paying, you and your dealer are supposed to withhold 10% when they're giving you that commission.
Okay.
And that one is also an example now of a final tax. One, the transaction requires the withholding agent to withhold, and the two, it's one of the examples also of final tax. Like the other one I talked about on dividends and interest.
Okay, how about we maybe you expand a little bit about entertainers, both the locals and the international entertainers who come into Uganda, because sometimes we have a lot of concerts lined up almost every weekend.
Almost every weekend, and that one has been a topic which has been going on for
Quite some time now.
quite some time,
Yes.
and it is still attracting debate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you watch the law, what the rate said, withholding tax on payments, I begin with the non-resident,
Okay.
because most of them bring people from
Yes, they
outside.
bring people.
So now, tax is imposed on the income derived in Uganda by every non-resident entertainer, sports person, theatrical, musical, or other related group of entertainers.
Okay.
And this case, what is it? What do we require? The tax is charged at the rate of 15%
Okay.
of the gross amount of the payment. And as I said, it's supposed to be remitted within 5 days
Okay.
before the person goes out, or by the last date before the person leaves the country.
Perform. And then for
For
Ugandans.
residents, that's 6%.
Okay. Makes sense. So with all these rates, maybe we could have some few examples and show our taxpayers what it's like, how to compute them, and how to ensure that they're able to get the right figures.
Maybe of recent again, something you talked about withholding VAT.
Withholding VAT.
I don't know whether someone has asked about it, but something talked about withholding VAT. Is there anybody asked about it somewhere?
Could we answer that after this other question? There is one here. Richard again is saying, I always have challenges withholding from cement and fuel dealers. They say that the profit on every unit sold is less than the 6% that would be deducted as withholding tax. Please advise on this.
Now, people confuse this withholding tax, VAT, excise duty with their profit.
Okay.
Now, remember, you are an agent on behalf of the government. So, by the time you put VAT and withholding tax, you have ascertained your profit margin.
Okay.
You get it?
Okay.
VAT is over and above your profit margin. So, but of course, like any other business person, that excuse is always there, that this one is eating on my profit margin. But remember, VAT you're not charging on your profit margin. And that's why at the end of the year, you're required to file a return and pay tax.
Patrick, this person is having a challenge, not from withholding. He can withhold, but the challenge is with the people he's paying. They are complaining that he's taking
their money.
Profit.
And that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
For them, they think that if when this man, when they supply and withholds upon making a payment, he is eating part of their profit. So the advice I can give this man to tell his suppliers, at the end of the year, let them file a return.
Okay.
And what I know, this tax which is withheld is creditable. Short tax, which is withheld at source, before you come up to your final tax paid to URA, if they had withheld at excess, apply for refund.
But is it possible to withhold at excess?
Now, because now the argument are saying that it is part of their profit. But now if you are keeping your records show at the end of the year that either in a profit or loss. Now if you're in a loss and you have a record that you can show, apply for refund. Yeah, I will refund you.
Okay. I think that answers it properly. And there's one more question. How do I know that withholding tax is paid? I think we answered this. Maybe they came in a bit late. We could just say it briefly.
Did the person put a name?
Social media questions. This is
the dear remorse. We say that it is your right. If they give a payment and the tax was withheld, it is your right to request the withholding agent to give you what they call a credit certificate, a tax credit certificate.
Yes, then there's another question from Raymond Steele. Suppose I'm the supplier and on payment of the goods, I deduct the withholding tax and whom I have supplied pays that tax to the bank. How am I going to get notified that the payments are made? if they are the supplier, if I've understood well, and they are paying.
The bank.
Yes.
Now, doesn't it almost resemble like the other
Yeah,
one, the previous one?
Yeah, it's the previous
You
question.
can request for, maybe in a
Always
brief,
request.
when they give you that tax credit certificate, it shows how much money was withheld.
Okay.
And if you are doubting the person, you can visit any nearest URA office to compute for you and see whether the person may be over or under deducted. Because some people normally say that, you see, I made a supply, and I want to see in a computation, and what the person did, he withheld money on the value, including VAT. So if that is the case, what does it mean? The person is going to withhold an excess over and above what he or she was supposed to withhold.
Okay. So these credit certificates can be gotten by both the supplier and the payer.
Perfect.
Person.
Now,
which is
what require people, our viewers, our taxpayers, it goes back to the keyword you normally talk about. Every time we want to reach you, the information most of the time it is not up to date. Remember now, when the withholding agent files a return and it is approved,
okay.
but when do they approve it? The credit comes to your account. You as the supplier, you can still view when you receive the messages within your account and open, you'll find it there. It will be on your profile. But most of us will find that the email addresses we put on the profile, they are not correct.
There's a question from Linda Kello, and I think you've actually answered it, but let me just read it. She says, hello Patrick, please explain to us what the use of a tax credit certificate is and how it is got. I think you explained a bit of how it is got.
And the use?
Maybe the use.
Now, the use, first of all, one, so that you're a taxpayer. It also shows you how much money was withheld from you.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, if you want to file a return, before you pay the final tax, you know how much money to offset from. That is if it is creditable. If it is a final, before you're going to make that compare to the bank, or to the bank that they, instead of paying 1 million, they paid less by 15%.
Okay.
You first confirm. Did they remove 15%? As the law requires withholding tax on dividends or interest? Yes. If it is 15%, remove it, then there's no need.
Yeah.
So it's more of information, knowledge.
But I think also another use is for record keeping. It's a good record to have for your business, especially if someone keeps taking off money. You need that information.
That is a good one also.
Yes. So let me just check if there are any other questions. There isn't any other question. We could go through the computation.
Briefly, I talked about recently
VAT?
the withholding VAT.
Withholding VAT.
Because recently there are people, if they have not asked, who are designated still by the Ministry of Finance to withhold the VAT from the VAT registered what taxpayers. And this is what the law says, that withholding VAT is a tax mechanism that requires designated or selected VAT registered taxpayers to withhold the 6% of the taxable value on all payments made to VAT registered suppliers. Or, that one is critical, some people have been complaining, or to persons who are not VAT registered but making a supply of an amount equivalent to or higher than Uganda shillings 37.5 million shillings. So what do they bring? Oh, there are people outside there who are trading. They are supposed to register voluntarily. Actually, because they have been the session, this time they don't require them to register for VAT, but they're still hiding.
Okay.
So now, if you supply me, I want to pay an amount equal or above this figure, and I'm withholding agent for VAT purposes, that requires me to withhold the VAT at a rate of 6% of the tax.
Okay. Now, my final question is, can someone reject the appointment of being a withholding tax agent? You come and tell me now, Elizabeth, you are a withholding agent, and I tell you, nope, I'm not collecting anything.
But now remember what I said when I was starting. You see, who is you to oppose the minister's decision? He or she has seen that you have the capacity to withhold.
Okay.
So why do you want to run away from that obligation? And at the end of the day, we are supposed to develop the nation together. And
No.
they said by the time they select you there, you're a trustee on behalf of the government.
But Patrick, I just want to pay only my taxes. What is the problem with
Now,
that?
why do you only want to pay taxes but don't want other people to pay? Because remember, we are trying to widen the tax base.
Okay.
And these are one of the ways of bringing more
Widening.
people in the tax bracket.
Okay.
Uh,
Thank you so much. We can get into some computations, and so that our taxpayers can get familiar with how to go about it and not get lost or confused.
okay.
Yeah. Do you want to display?
Brief, it's better I display.
Okay.
So they can say, just want to, because I said it even yesterday, somebody called me, one of the former staff of URA, regarding payments.
Okay.
So it always confuses us. Now we talked about withholding tax is on the taxable value. So now what is the taxable value? So I'm just going to assume that I've got, should I just put anything which
Yes.
is subject to?
Yes.
Let me assume that I've got my, let me say, 100 bags
Okay.
of maize flour. And I want to use the common example where people normally complain what they charge, what they charge VAT, or where you buy anything. Just give me. I want to use
Let's
two
say soap.
examples.
Soap, liquid soap, maybe.
Maybe say 100 jerry cans
Yes.
of liquid soap.
Yes.
If it is you, Elizabeth, who is selling,
Okay. Yes.
and at the end of the day or week, the price you want from that 100 jerry cans is maybe 1 million.
Okay.
1 million. This is what you want
Yes.
as a consideration from your 100 jerry cans. One, this one is subject to, if I say you're going to supply the school, and the school is supposed to withhold. One, what they call 6%.
Okay.
Withholding tax. This 6% is going to be computed on this consideration. So we're going to get equal sign 6% times
Okay.
1 million.
Okay.
So it'll be equal to, the withholding agent will be required to withhold
60.
6%. Now this figure here, note this figure, maybe I can put a bracket. It excludes VAT.
Okay.
Now, if this same person is a VAT withholding agent, there's going to be also be 6% VAT
Okay.
of the taxable value, and I say the taxable value is the total consideration that you have received, either in cash or in kind.
Okay.
So you're going to get still the same. I want to get 6%
Okay.
times 1 million. So even for VAT purposes, it will be 60,000. Now, what some people are doing,
Yes.
they are doing like this. How much is the VAT on this one? On 1 million, the VAT is 18%.
Okay. Yes.
18% times 1.
1 million.
Want to see how some of us are doing it wrongly, and some taxpayers suppliers are complaining. This is 180. Now, if you get 1 million, let me just put it people can see. If you get 1 million
Okay.
plus the VAT component 180,
Okay.
how much do you get? 1,180,000.
180.
Now, I can't say the common mistake, but I say even yesterday somebody, a former staff, called me regarding this particular thing. What happens here? Some people, they are removing withholding tax on this figure. So what they are doing, they are getting 6% withholding tax. How they are computing it? Withholding tax, they are getting 6%
Okay.
times this figure,
which
is very wrong. And you don't encourage it. So for the viewers who are there, this is not the right way to 6%. Just 6% times 1,180,000. I think.
Yes.
I think there is an excess of how much? Here there is an excess of 1070 minus 60, which is 10,800. So this is a wrong way of computing withholding tax. So in a brief, withholding tax is on that total consideration before including VAT in your price or the amount of money you're going to get. That's what I say. That's why I said those people are complaining. If you go back to the other person ask a question, that they're saying that it is encroaching on their profit. No, by the time you set a price, it includes your profit margin. What you're only adding is the VAT component, and there, because the item either is standard rated and the law requires you to do so.
Okay.
That's in a brief about the computation. Now, other people say, but even the VAT are taking a lot of money. Now, from this figure, I said how much VAT? 180. Not so?
Yes.
It's not the right way to do it, but if you want to prove that at the end of the day, is it 6%? It is at the end of the day 6% of 180. So going to be 6%, but of how much? Of 18%. How much is it? 6% of 18%. But you are saying, maybe if to close the bracket here, what is the VAT component times the VAT. How much is it? These are decimal points. Should be able to use
60,000.
60. This is the same VAT.
You
But
still
so
get
because
the
people
same
normally say,
VAT.
but now no, I'm not withholding a lot of money. So what does it mean? If in this category and you're withholding agent for VAT purposes, you, if registered for VAT, you remit the balance of 12% to your That's in a brief about the computation.
Thank you. We have two more questions. There is Wenene Flavia. She says, how do you differentiate between withholding tax and VAT? I think we explained that, but you can just go through it briefly.
And VAT. Now, for VAT, for withholding tax, 6% withholding tax for income tax purposes. And also there is 6% VAT, withholding VAT. Here's why you find the item you are supplying is subject to both VAT and is subject to withholding tax.
Okay.
So what does it mean? The example we used the equity soap here.
Yes.
If the person is a withholding agent, 1 for VAT purposes and 2 for income tax purposes, this is how it will happen.
Okay.
In a brief.
Okay, it actually makes more sense. And it's easier. Linda Akello says, how would you advise a withholding agent that has to deal with people that do not want to hear about tax, yet they need the goods from the supplier or the service? Because our withholding agents are having a hard time.
It's true. One, it has happened. I think it is now, I think some people in Ichikova are making noise. It's true, they are complaining. And they say that they are making their competitors out to compete them. Because the other analog that once a withholding agent, that they say the price tends to be higher, which makes I know. The issue is one, if we cannot educate them, send them to the necessary office and tell them, one, the purpose of paying taxes. That's one. Then two, at the end of the day, if you don't want to lose business, because you're saying that before KCCA or any other municipality gives you business, a trading license, he or she must be having a TIN. And the TIN I talk about is tax identification number. So what does it mean at the end of the day? For business purposes, business prospects, a registered person or a compliant person wants to deal with the people registered. At the end of the day, you find that you don't have people to deal with. If you have been supplying your car and your car wants people unregistered who are compliant, means going to is going to push you aside. Because at the end of the day, everyone is supposed to be law abiding and be
Tax
tax compliant.
Yes. And then there is a question here from Muhendia Yusuf. He says, kindly take us back to the computation of VAT withholding. Just wrap up. But I think you explained it so well, where you said for the goods where people deal or are supposed to be withholding tax and also VAT, it is 6% and 6%.
Yes. In the brief, it is 6% of the transactional value, transactional.
Okay.
Or the total amount of money for you want to receive from your product.
Unless if it's also VAT registered, it's another 6%.
If the person is VAT registered, it's the same. Where you subject 6% for income tax purposes, it's on the same figure, on the same value, where you're supposed to subject 6%.
Okay, maybe you could just display it one more time.
One more time, now I said you gave an example of 100 and liquid soap, and you are saying that if you, the supplier, you want to receive 1 million,
okay,
and you are saying in the bracket, this figure excludes VAT component. So it is on this figure that you are going to subject your 6% withholding tax for income tax purposes, which is 6 over 100.
Yes.
Can you put maybe it is equal to 6 over 100.
Okay.
Times
1 million. Yes.
1 million. Should be able to get the value of the withholding tax for income tax purposes.
Yes. And then VAT.
If it is for VAT, the same, it is 6. But it requires the person to withhold the 6% of the 18.
Okay.
So to be 6%, and you're saying this 6 subject to also the transactional value. 6, which is 6 over 100. Times 1 million. Just by coincidence, you are getting the same figure, but it will not be always be the case.
Okay. So we are running short of time, but I would like us to answer this person, Linda. She says nowadays what they do is when you talk about withholding tax on a transaction, I think she means the suppliers, they increase the price of the commodity being purchased so that they get exactly what they should be getting as payment. How do I handle this? You are left.
Ideally, it is wrong. Some people are even going to write later. Like recently, we were somewhere, I think dozens of Kamwesi, where I think this person was not complying with the tax obligations. Now, when your ATM reached the person, what the person said, from today, I'm going to increase the rent by 18% because URA wants me to pay. So when you saw those letters, were like, no, first of all, it's your obligation to collect and submit. The rent income you are getting from these tenants above 150 million, which means now 1, you have not been paying to URA. That's 1. 2, instead of telling people that you have increased the rent, don't misinform them and misguide them that actually it is URA which is making increase the rent. Just say, from today, I'm going to increase the rent because of maybe the economic conditions. But don't use to give the excess of taxes because they have been there and they remain there.
Yes.
So long as what you are dealing in is taxable. So in a brief, that person, these people need the more tax knowledge, and we are available. If we cannot send them to the NCRA office, still we are available on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, toll free line, call and seek for more clarification.
Also on WhatsApp, we have a number.
WhatsApp number, I think, is 0772 140000.
Okay.
The toll free line. Toll free line. I give it to you. Give it a try.
No, you can just tell us, and for the benefit of our taxpayers.
Because by now people say toll free lines, most of us we don't pick.
No,
I don't know how far it is true, but maybe you are coming up with a, is it client relationship model?
Yes.
Which I think, was it launched recently soon?
Yes, it was launched and it will soon be in operation.
Soon to be in operation. Most of the queries which have been lagging behind
shall be answered.
And for now, our toll free line is 0800 117 000. I repeat, 0800 117 000 or 0800 217 000.
Yes, Patrick, thank you so much. This has been quite an understanding of withholding tax, and thank you for coming to the show. we hope that we can always have you back for more tax education. Like you say, people need more tax education. And I think the masses out there feel like they're being overcharged. And it shouldn't be, because a buyer has told them it's URA. Yeah,
True.
I think that has been my takeaway.
True.
Any last words before we close?
The last words, once again, may I just say, our Muslim community during this holy month of, which is the holy month of Ramadan, of course we know you are going to keep to continue paying your taxes, and we appreciate everyone, because I keep saying it, the country cannot develop without you.
Yes.
We need you, we need your support as a country. We don't need to wait for the donors to come and dictate. When you can develop the state on your own and make it better for us and the citizens to come ahead of us.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick, and thank you to our viewers, and thank you to our taxpayers for always paying your taxes. And we encourage all those who are not yet paying to also come on board, and we develop Uganda together. Thank you. Have a good day.